These are the arms going this way. Here's the center line. Here's the spine. Okay, kind of get it? So if this is the spine, you want to hang that flesh from this. Now I'm going to just turn this into this, and maybe this. Let's say we don't understand the bones. So what we're doing then is we're hanging the flesh from this. Get that, what I'm talking about here? You have to find this in order to make this work. Pulling it off. Pulling it off. There's a rib cage in there. You see? Let's do another doweling here. Maybe bring the neck up. Turn him into a sphinx. Right? See what I mean? There's a sense of that weight because you're thinking structure as opposed to something that floats. Does that make this wrong? No. This is one way of telling it, and this is another way of telling it. Supposing you've got, this represents, say, a clown. You've got sad clown. You got buoyant, happy clown. All right? So it depends on the story you want to tell. I'm asking you to tell this story today, not this story. Does that make sense? So does that help? Does that contribute to what we were talking about earlier today? Because we were talking about finding the bones and falling off the flesh and so on. But this is an abstract idea that respects that same consideration, right? So if that helps, try to keep that in mind. Any questions? Yeah.
What do you mean by multitasking? Like in drawing terms, like how?
If you draw and text, and you're also listening to me, that's multitasking in a way. It's like you believe you can do all three as effectively as if you just did one of them at a time. And what happens is you keep dividing your attention. And what I was saying about that is that there are some things that are multitasking, and there are other things that look like multitasking that are not multitasking. For instance, cooking in a kitchen where you're making eggs and bacon and toast for 5 people. That's not multitasking. And the reason is that they all have the same objective, to put together and produce a single something. Whereas multitasking, they have their own objectives. They go in different directions. So they keep going further and further apart, as opposed to heading towards the same goal. Follow what I mean? So when you're doing something where it's all heading to the same goal, like juggling, you can juggle, say, an orange, or let's say an apple, and a chainsaw and take a bite out of the apple. Because it's all, well, maybe you can't, and maybe I can't, but a careful juggler could. You understand what I mean? Because it's all involved in the same process. Multitasking doesn't do that.
So
It alludes to something else, that it can do many things at once, but one cannot do that effectively. That's all.
So like working piece by piece is multitasking, but working as a whole.
No, when I was referring to if you're drawing Michael while I'm lecturing, that's 2 different things. You're distracted because I'm talking about one thing and you're doing another thing. They don't lead to the same end. You may think so, but it's not the same thing as making eggs and bacon, putting them on a plate, right? So I know that doesn't have a lot to do with what we're talking about here specifically, because now I have everyone's attention. Right. Okay, yeah.
In regards to multitasking,
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on, say, listening to jazz while, say, painting a jazz painting?
There's no way that you can listen to jazz and not be influenced in some way. If you want jazz to be an influence, right, then play jazz. What I try to do is play music that has no clear signature in anybody's repertoire of music.
Eclectic.
It's eclectic, yeah. And as a result, I hope not to offend anybody, And some people actually bring their own music and pump it in. That's fine, as long as they keep it down. You know what I mean?
I guess what I was trying to get at is doing multiple, like different things, but
Yeah.
would be under this one umbrella.
Yeah.
Is that different than multitasking, or do you believe maybe that painting would be better if one did all that listening before and then
No,
just
no,
sat
no,
down with
no.
it?
If it's like bringing a spice into cooking.
Right.
You don't bring the spice in. Well, you might bring the spice in later. Let's say you don't salt. Somebody can't have salt, right? So you bring in salt to taste afterwards. But sometimes salt is really good in the cooking because it changes the chemistry of the food while it's cooking it. It's not just a taste that's at the end. It's a taste that permeates and changes the flavors and so on, brings out certain flavors. So if your jazz does that for you, whatever your music is, does that for you, then that's a good thing, right? But if you're not making choices and you're just listening to a station, that's different. What I'm trying to do is play eclectic music that provides an atmosphere and I hope isn't too intrusive. We're not trying to produce masterpieces in here either. We're trying to learn. So it's not critical. But when you're in your own studio and you're working on your own stuff, I think it's critical what you listen to or what you don't listen to. I really do, yeah. It's critical what the colors are in the room you're working in, the kind of light you use, right? Now, it could be that some people enjoy working in a mess and other people need to have it all cleaned up. That's really personal, and you find that. So you find the right elements, right? You try to find the right elements. Okay. And so we've just had a discussion about density and weight and multitasking. Right. Anything else? Yeah? Going back to this?
Back to the weight, hanging the mass off the skeleton.
Yes. Yeah.
Drawing a gesture, many people don't draw the skeleton, but just draw the feeling. Do you think we would imagine the skeleton and then drape the mass
You
over
bet.
that, or do you think
You should be
for
drawing.
sake of this
You should be
class,
drawing
we
as if
draw-
you could see that skeleton.
Okay.
Absolutely. Your figure needs to be transparent. You need to know what's going on, what's supporting
Okay.
the whole enterprise. That's sort of like if you're a writer, you need to know something about sentence structure. You can't just go off. I mean, some people think they can, but it's very limited. But if you learn structure and then learn to be creative within the structure, then eventually you can take off from the structure.
Right.
In fact, that's a definition of jazz.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, good.